Retro Mondays.
Hey, what's happening, gamers? Happy Halloween, All Hallows Eve, Saints Day, whatever else. Man, it's been a while since the last Retro Mondays, hasn't it? In case you hadn't heard, Shadows of the Empire got cancelled because of issues with video capturing. Since Castlevania didn't get a nod from Konami for its 25th anniversary, I will wish the series another 25 years of success with today's game, which is Castlevania Bloodlines for the Sega Genesis. Hopefully to turn your Monday into a fun day. Bloodlines released in 1994 and is also known as the New Generation in Europe. This is the only Vania game that Konami made for the Sega Genesis, by the way. What's unique about this game is how it combines Bram Stoker's Dracula novel to the Castlevania franchise. Now, how they combine the novel is in 1897, Dracula was defeated by a descendant of the Belmonts, Quincy Morris, and peace was restored to Europe. That is, until the outbreak of World War I, which caused a way for the Dark Prince to rise again from his unholy rest. Rumors spread that a strange woman, the niece of Dracula, was responsible for the death of Austria's crown prince. The year is now 1917 and two men step forward to challenge the fates, John Morse, the son of Quincy, and Eric Lecard, wielder of Alucard's spear. Unlike the previous Castlevania games that took place inside the Demon Castle, our two heroes travel all over Europe to stop Elizabeth from gathering the lost souls from the Great War. At the start of the game, players can choose between the wielder of the vampire killer, or traditional Belmont-style gameplay if you will, or you can play as Eric using a spear. Now, what's really interesting about this Vania game is that both characters take alternate routes. For example, John uses Simon's classic whip swing to reach different places, and Eric will use his spear to ascend to higher locations than John can reach. Gameplay is pretty basic Vania 101, so if you've played any Castlevania game before this, you're golden. While fighting in different directions isn't new to the series, both characters do have the ability to attack in a few different directions, from above and below them. But other than that, nothing has really changed, except hearts are now gems and there are only 3 sub-weapons now, and the cross has been replaced by a boomerang. Yeah, we'll be talking about this later. Players can use the sub-weapons in one or two ways, plus the item crash returns from Rondo of Blood too. As mentioned before, this game takes place all over Europe. Each level has the player venturing through, fighting monsters, sub-bosses, and a stage boss at the end. Until of course you tangle with the likes of Death, Elizabeth, and Uncle D himself. So yeah, it follows the basic classic Castlevania formula to the T. That being said, I have some monster issues with this game. Since this game kinda uses the old school formula, it's gonna make you shout loud enough to wake the dead. This game is highly known for its rage-inducing properties, believe me. Like with Contra Hard Ops, Bloodlines is legendary for its challenge factor and pushing gamers' buttons. While later games in the series made your journey through the castle a lot more fun and enjoyable, this game just tested your patience and mocked you. Also, an old enemy comes back to haunt you. I'm of course talking about the most dreaded foe from my childhood, the putrid and despised flying enemies, namely the evil Medusa heads. Man, are these things ever a pain in the neck or what? Without Simon's cool whip tricks, John is a sitting duck, and let me tell you, it's open season, but in a bad way. Like with the original games, these things knock you off and through platforms, remove a lot of your health, and are just a pain to dodge in general. Gamer Rage, thy name is Medusa heads. Aside from those cheap foes, the game's difficulty seems to be cranked on 11, and if you play this game on hard, you're just begging for this game to give you a heart attack. All the foes are very tough to beat and will separate the men from the boys. This isn't your father's Castlevania game, unless they happen to be my age, then that kind of defeats my point. I once defeated this game on Extreme, but the true ending wasn't really worth my time, so I'm never gonna play it on Extreme again. Yep, that's the ending you get. Woohoo! Frankly, there's only one world that I really despised in this game, and it had to be the odd-looking mirror dimension room thingamajiggy. It's not that the graphics were bad or anything, it just literally made me feel sick and very dizzy. Then it took some time for me to learn how to traverse the level very safely because the stage plays tricks on your sight. I hate that. My other nitpicking has to do with censorship. Oh yay! I am very upset over the removal of the cross. Throwing an axe at Dracula or using pagan weapons isn't gonna do squat. because paganism is all about the same stuff that fuels the bad guys. Evil is afraid of anything to do with holy stuff, so it would make sense that holy stuff would kill them, hence the Belmont's strong Christian faith. Furthermore, Dracula cursed God, so anything to do with him is going to put fear into his stop-dead heart. If you happen to attack them with the other stuff, well, the undead is most likely just going to laugh at you. I know I would if I was a zombie. Hey, look at that guy, he just threw an axe at me. Did nothing. Time to eat ya. Luckily, later games in the series brought back the cross, and even the Bible appears. Pretty offensively awesome stuff if you ask me, Konami. Good for you. Out of all this censorship, though, our Europe friends got the short end of the stick again. How bad was it? Well, for one, Bloodlines was actually changed to the name Generation. Second, the title screen with the dripping blood was replaced with water instead. The blood and gore was toned down significantly compared to the US and Japanese versions of this game. The zombies were turned green and most of the gore was removed so that they wouldn't offend people, I guess. Apparently zombies are offensive. When Eric dies, he isn't impaled by his own spear, which actually is a pretty touchy subject in parts of Europe, so maybe that makes sense, but I don't know. Though compared to the US release of this game, New Generation is much easier than Bloodlines, so yeah. Still, I think the changes from the cross and the other cosmetic tweaks were highly unnecessary, but that's just my opinion. Moving on to the good, yay! Castlevania Bloodlines is one of the best looking 2D Castlevania games before Symphony of the Night. Actually, a lot of effects that you see in the '97 PlayStation hit are courtesy of Bloodlines, so remember that, folks. Rondo may have done a lot of cool things with the environments, but Bloodlines pushed that tech to its limits and gave us an abundance of amazing special effects, such as interaction with the actual stage environments, the swaying Tower of Pisa, having the player appear upside down, multi-jointed bosses, awesome enemy animations, and incredible looking reflections in the water. Out of all the stages in this game, this has to be my most favorite. Once players arrive in Greece at the Atlantis Shrine, you will see why I said this stage is my favorite. The water reflections were definitely ahead of its time, and I liked the way that the water would rise too. It gave the stage a very cool, serene feeling to it, and I just loved looking at the visuals. Gamers, you know how I always say music can make or break a game's experience? Well, the music for this game made this game better. In fact, the music is incredible and was done by this talented young lady. Although, she isn't really young anymore, but she's still a lady. Bloodlines was actually the first Castlevania game where she provided the score for. Now we all know in 1997 she captivated the gaming world with her arrangements and original compositions for Symphony of the Night. While Vampire Killer, Bloody Tears, and Simon's Theme have all become renowned and used pretty much in every Vania game, one of Yamin's compositions has appeared in a few Vania games and it's my personal favorite of hers. Actually, you hear it right now, the Sinking Old Sanctuary. This melody is so beautiful and fits the game perfectly. It has a very haunted feel to it and just works so well with the environment where it's played. Personally, I like the arrangement in Legacy of Darkness the best for the N64 because it fit the art tower better, but it's just a really cool song and I like it. In 2008, after her work was handed in and completed for some arrangement for Wii's Castlevania Judgment game, mainly Cornell's theme, she left Konami to become an independent musician. Hence why the music was very different in Lords of Shadow. Might also be the reason why it doesn't really have the soul of the series anymore. Anyway, while graphics are mostly attractive and the music is the soul, the gameplay is the bones that holds the whole body and the game together. I have to say for this game, it definitely does its job. Actually, Konami's Sega offering was very well done and kept that old school Vania feel from the Nintendo classics. Even for its day, this game had some destructible environments too, and they were incorporated very well. What made the Genesis game stand out to many was the fact you could play as two characters. A lot of people chose to play this game as Eric because for the longest time the whip guy is all we got to play as, not counting Castlevania 3. Let me tell you, I'm not the best at the spearman, and I will admit it, still that doesn't mean he isn't cool to play as. Unlike John, Eric makes it really simple to attack in vertical directions and take out air-based enemies without jumping. Plus, his magic is much stronger too. The thing I liked about Eric is how well of a ranged fighter he is. The spear covers more distance than the whip ever could, and it makes it easier to be out of the undead's attack range, and let me tell you, that's a good thing. I also really love the item crash that both characters use after obtaining the blue orb. It makes fighting a lot of the bosses cake. I just wish it didn't take so many of my hearts. I mean gems! So, does this game have any lasting appeal? I would say yes it does. Bloodlines features 3 difficulties. Playing the game on easy is anything but. However, if you do that, then you're cheating yourself because you're not going to get to fight as many of the bosses. Playing the game on normal is the default difficulty, and you get to face even more sub-bosses. Playing on hard, very few brave people attempt this, and there's a reason why, because it's really not worth it. Like with many Vania games, Bloodline features a password system too, so if you want to replay your favorite stages at any time, you so can. Sadly, other than the 1998 port of the Cynthia Knight games, Sega didn't really have much luck with Castlevania. It even ended up canceling its upcoming Dreamcast game, Resurrection, which is a shame. Sega fans and many gamers in general both held a great respect and admiration for what Bloodlines attempted, and apparently so did Iga. On November and December of 2006, Castlevania Portrait of Ruin released for the Nintendo DS and met with a good response from the critics. Finally, after what seemed forever, Bloodlines was getting a sequel. Truthfully, this has to be my favorite Metroidvania game out of all of them. This is a direct sequel to Bloodlines, and the main character is Jonathan, the son of John. Also, Charlotte is a descendant of Sypha. The game did so many things well that I really want to save it for a later review. All in all, Bloodlines is a really great Genesis game and an okay Vania game. I'm really shocked to say that this game is not re-released on the Wii's Virtual Console. With the classic drought the system has been facing, Sega missed a huge opportunity to release this game during the fall. Downloading this game for October would have been a no-brainer, and Nintendo missed out on adding another retro gem to its growing collection. And don't tell me that Konami and Nintendo didn't know how popular this game is, because if they didn't, then they wouldn't have featured an arrangement of the Stage 1 theme for the Adventure Rebirth on WiiWare. But I digress. If you like Castlevania games and don't mind Bloodlines' wicked tough difficulty, then I think you'll really enjoy this game. Plus, if you want to continue the great story, then by all means pick up Portrait of Ruin for the Nintendo DS. I really love that game. Anyway, thus concludes another Retro Mondays. Join me next time for Kirby Dream Land 3 for the Super Nintendo. I'm done with the gloomy dark stuff for a while, and Batman Arkham City doesn't count. So thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you like what you saw, then please hit the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you want to know what I'm up to, you can check out my Facebook, Twitter, and music album in the description. Thanks again, and until we meet again, gamers, God bless and happy gaming. Have a great rest of the day.